Hey everyone, I'm Phineas Finestral. We have my special guest, my best friend, Daniel Talonia from New York, by way of Mexico. So we have a amazing experience. So if you guys haven't noticed, we've been talking about New York. I'm actually from Brooklyn, New York, born and raised. But before I moved here to Lynchburg, from the time of 2011 and 12, up to before I moved here, which is 2016. I've been involved in the music industry, the film industry, as far as, doing a lot of film and video. And this guy right here is who I met right until the point of right before I kind of like reached my peak, because, I was doing a lot of I was coming out of the film and video, and I've been doing a lot more production, like beat battles and going to studio sessions. And he was there during the whole time.
You were singing back there. I know, playing.
I was playing guitar,
Guitar for Broken Chains.
Okay, before Broken Chains, it was actually Lee, that the jazz artist, the jazz hip hop artist. So
you're right.
Yes,
you're right.
So yeah, man, like, I guess we could start off with just say, like, share people with like your story. Like, how do you even come to America? Like, what's that story like?
It's a long story. I don't know if you want to
condense it to like a fourth of that.
Well, first of all, a lot of people think that the immigrants just come to the United States for money. Well, that was not my case. Back in my little town, I have a really nice life. I had my own house, my car, my own business. So, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy at all. So, it was more like a need of finding myself. Like, because back in the days I was dating, I got married when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
It was a blessing, but it was complicated. And it was a blessing because I have 3 beautiful sons, like, I love with all my heart. But the marriage didn't work out. We were too young. We didn't know what we were looking for. And we ended up, we separate. And, but I still had a really good life, like, it's kind of like that everybody is dreaming of. I was studying art. I went to an art photography school, and I was doing my thing. Back in the days in Mexico, because I'm from Mexico, we didn't have the opportunities that we had here. Like us, like an artist, we didn't have enough platforms to even to show our art. Like, we were really limited. So I remember I was dating this psychologist back in the days, and she asked me, and it was like, I think one of the questions that somebody has asked me that has impacted my life the most. She asked me, what do you want to do with your life? And back then I was like, what are you talking about? I have my house, I have my business, I have my car, I have money. So what you mean?
What you want to do with your life?
And then I got it, like, okay, I got all of these, but is this what I really want?
You missed the fulfillment.
Yes.
What she was asking you, what was the fulfillment for you outside of
that? Wasn't the straight question, but that was the meaning.
That's the meaning what she said.
Oh, yeah. That was she was asking for.
Right.
Because she knew that I have, my stuff, like what we were supposed to have.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that's what we are supposed to have, everyone. And so back then I was for a journalist already, and I told her I like photography. And she was the one who took me to the school. Next week I was enrolled in art school.
Right.
So since then my life changed, like, like, I don't know, 180 degrees. Like, it went to the opposite direction. But I reached the point where I wasn't happy at all because in my hometown, um, we didn't have the opportunities of job or exposure. And also my family back in the days, and it still is in Mexico, nobody wants your son to be an artist. It is something that is so different than here, like
It's very similar. Haitian background. My mom didn't think, oh, you can make music without being in a club or whatever, or like, selling your soul. You can still make money with your art, like my music and stuff that I've done with sound and everything like that. That's art. That's also science and art. So having a Haitian parent think that you only need to be a pastor or a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, or a nurse, they wanted to feel like you need to have a sense of stability. I think that's why they were
stability.
afraid. Stability.
That's a hard thing to get.
Right.
Even if you got money.
Even if you have money. True.
If you have money, like,
because you got money.
Back in the days, I don't know, my weekend was like, and I'm talking about converting it in dollars.
Yeah.
My weekend was like $1,000 spending. Like,
right. Yeah.
So, and I'm talking about 25 years ago. So like,
wow. Right.
Like poor. I wasn't poor.
Right.
Poor. Like,
so what transitioned you from coming from the comfort of Mexico to coming to New York? Like, why? Like, what started that? Like, okay, you just jump on a train or a plane. I don't know.
Well, I find out myself depressed, like really, really depressed, and actually I had to take therapy, and because first of all, my marriage failed.
Right.
Like my family wasn't agree with me doing art, and by the way, I was also an actor. I did theater, and I had my own company.
So you basically did your own thing. Yeah, you did your own thing, and your family's like, why can't you just do your regular job and everything else, right?
Exactly. So my family started telling me, my brother telling me, when I went back to school to take art school, photography art school, and I remember my brother telling me, oh, your time is over. You have to work for your family, and he was right. Okay, but I think each of us have to find a way to provide.
That's true.
It also has to be the way everybody thinks is the right way.
Right.
No, it's my life.
Right.
So, but back then I didn't understood that. So, and I was struggling. So, it affects me in the way that makes me depressed, thinking that I was the one who was wrong.
Right. It's true. People's gonna convince you that you were wrong, but really you're doing what you desired and your higher calling, and everyone else is just
no, you are wrong. You are wrong because you are not doing what everybody else is doing.
Wow.
And my family too. Why you got divorced? I think I was the first one getting divorced in the family. So just imagine
that's why it was even more pressure. Like, you get divorced. What's wrong with you?
I was the black sheep.
You're the black sheep. Wow. Oh my goodness.
So just imagine that my dad and my mom pointing at me out. Don't do what your brother does.
Oh.
Oh
man.
But it's okay now. We understand. And now I get it that I have to do that. It was my duty to do it actually. And why it was my duty? I didn't understand this until a few years ago, when somebody asked me about my past. Exactly the same conversation. And I found this, and I have really bad memory, but I don't exactly remember the exactly words of it, but they were talking about the black sheep, and they say that actually this kind of people are the ones that broke the change with your ancestors.
Wow.
And they are and this kind of people are the ones who make another branch on the tree family that gives you freedom to the next generations.
Wow.
So the freedom of choosing their own path. And I was like, damn, that was me.
That's me. Yeah.
That was me.
That's great.
That was me.
Wow.
And then I understood that I wasn't the one wrong. And they weren't wrong either. Because don't forget that the way they look at the world, it was the way they learn it. And I saw something different. That was the difference. I wasn't wrong. They weren't wrong. It's just perspective.
Perspective. So from that perspective, so when did you come here and like
Well,
how did you transition
the
to New
problem
York?
the problem with that back then, I didn't have the information that I have right now to understand what was going on,
Right.
what was happening, and make me depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like to the point where my dad had to go to my place and wake me up and tell me, hey, you gotta go out, you gotta wake up, you gotta do things.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to that point, that I even took a shower. Like I was like depressed, deeply
Mm-hmm.
depressed. And I finished art school somehow. Somehow I finished art school, but at the same time, my family wasn't agree with me, wasn't happy with me. My ex-wife, oh my God. Now we are friends, but back then.
Right. Button heads. Just
She almost killed me. She
Yeah.
almost killed me. Yeah. Now, the funny thing is now that she says that I'm her best friend. But back in the day, she couldn't, seize me without saying something mean.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, it was really horrible. And I found myself with all my family without they couldn't understand what was going on with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I finished art school. I had my exhibition and everything, and I found out myself in a place where when I was like, okay, I have my business, I have a house, I have a family, I have everything, but I'm not happy.
You're not happy.
I'm not happy. I'm depressed, and I couldn't do anything, and so a friend of mine told me, oh, back then I started selling my art, so I have a client that I think it was the only one in the little town that used to buy my stuff.
Mm.
And the last time I went to him to show him my job, and he bought one of my pieces, he told me, seriously, if you want to get bigger with this, you got to move out. You got to go somewhere else.
You got to move out, go somewhere else to get bigger.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's why you chose New York, huh?
No, I didn't choose New York.
You didn't choose New York? Okay.
No. New York chose me.
New York chose you? Ah. That's a bar. I didn't choose New York. New York chose me.
And I want to tell you why. Because I was so depressed that I couldn't think straight. I couldn't make decisions.
Right.
So a friend of mine told me, okay, you know what? Let's move to United States. He didn't tell me where. So I just followed him. And I ended up in New York City.
Oh.
With his friends, with his family. I didn't know anybody here. Funny thing, when we got here to New York, he couldn't stay here because he was missing his family, and he went back. So I was by myself here, with no friends, with no family.
Barely spoke English.
No, I didn't. I thought I spoke English, but guess what? No. No, even I took English classes, of course, in college and private classes and stuff like that. But once I was here and I realized that no, I couldn't understand. And especially New Yorkers saying Brooklynians.
Oh, yeah, Brooklynians.
Brooklynians, my God, the slangs and all those things.
Yeah.
I was like, no. What? I don't know if you remember, you met Leanne from the...
I remember Leanne.
Leanne speaks so fast. And I remember she was, once we were they invited me to a restaurant in New Jersey, and she sat in front of me, and she started talking to me. Blah, 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 blah. I couldn't understand anything.
Yeah.
Because she speaks so fast.
Yes, I remember. Bless you, Leanne. You're amazing. Just, you had to slow it down sometimes,
The funny thing, when she realized that I couldn't understand her, she went like, okay.
So, okay, you came to New York City, you getting settled, like how, and then now let's talk about the community, because I met you through the community of Mark Lambs.
It was my first 2 years were held in New York City. Just I find myself without family, without friends, and without speaking the language.
Right.
So, and my only option was to start working in construction to survive.
So you started construction to survive. Right?
So I started working in construction, but then I realized I have to learn English. But back then I couldn't afford it to pay a school.
Right.
Because believe me or not, I didn't take money from Mexico. So what I did, because let's be honest, everything that I had back in Mexico came from my family.
It did.
So my family gave me my house. My family gave me my business. Like basically,
you didn't earn anything on your own.
No.
Wow.
No. So all what I had came from my family.
Wow.
So I was an adult with family that never worked.
So you didn't. So the depression came through also the realization you didn't.
Oh yeah.
You didn't build your own.
No. Definitely.
Your own thing, something that your own legacy that broke off the branch. You had to do that for yourself.
Definitely, that was one of the main things that I realized. Okay, so if I lose, because I was about to lose the business, because I'm gonna be honest with you, my mom gave me a business that gives me really good money in the beginning, but I didn't know how to
maintain it and everything.
Yeah, how to manage how to manage the money and everything. So I was spending more than I was making, and I spent a lot of money. So I was about to lose the business, and when I realized, no, something is wrong. Nobody told me you're doing wrong, and that's the other thing. I think my dad used to tell me, give me back the business, or let's switch the business. I give you the other business and give me back this one.
Wow, so you didn't learn any lessons from yourself to make mistakes too?
No.
That was covering it. Wow, that's a big lesson. Wow.
And then I realized, no, something is wrong.
Right.
So I just imagine I was like 26 years old and with three boys, and I didn't know how to make my own money.
Wow. And then this was happening when I met you, and let's talk about that. Like you had to support your boys.
Yeah, so I had to support my family. So in order to do that, I had to start working in whatever was available. And what I found was construction. That I didn't need to speak English. And funny thing, most of the construction workers are Spanish.
Oh yeah, that's
good.
So
I had that advantage of communication, like it was easy for me, but then still I realized that I have to learn the language.
Yeah, you do.
So, but I couldn't afford it, and somebody told me, do you know what? At Manhattan in was that 40th Street, there is a church.
Yeah.
That they give English classes for free, and I was like, well, I have to learn.
Yeah, you have to learn.
So I went to the church, and then I met Sarah Pop. I met Mark Lamb, and I met Tiffany, the pastor there, and I started learning. And Jesse, one of my teachers, one of my first teachers. So I started learning English. I remember I was going Tuesdays and Thursdays. And conversation class was on Tuesdays with Americans.
Right.
And I met that really, really amazing people there. To the point where I was learning so fast that they make me teach.
Oh wow! They make you teach English classes. That's great. I mean, that's how you do it, man. That's awesome.
But the one thing took me to the other. So at that place, at that church, they had this salon series dance, contemporary dance salon series from Mark Lamb and Sarah Pop.
Yeah.
And back then I was able to buy a camera, a digital camera, and I asked Mark if to let me take pictures of them.
Yeah.
And from then we start.
Yeah. Yeah. You're taking amazing photos of Mark Lamb dance people and everyone that I met in that space too, because I played with the artist Lee. He happened, and he's not a churchgoer, so I don't know how he got that gig. I was like, that's very interesting. So I played with them, I played guitar. It was cool. I felt it was cool because it was not a conventional church. I
No,
usually
it's
go
not.
to,
It's
but it was cool.
Baptist church, if I allowed to do that, to say that, sorry. And they are really open mind. They are really
Right.
sorry. Open mind, and they support a lot of things, art especially. So they have this space where you can do.
It's a beautiful space.
Yeah,
Grand piano. It was
yes.
like amazing acoustics. So that's how I met.
From music to dance. So they support art. So and that was amazing time for me. You know, like to finally feel that I belong to somewhere.
Yeah, that was a good community to be part of. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then. Funny thing is that Jesse, when they realized that they couldn't teach me any more English there because my level was increasing, they told me, you know what? You gotta go find somewhere else to learn
Right,
English.
that's good. That's great. You gotta find some words. All right,
Yes.
we taught you everything.
Yeah, and
That's awesome.
and then I went to the New York Language Center in the Bronx. Where I found myself studying there, and it was hard because my schedule in construction was from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. roughly,
Right.
and I have to run
To the Bronx.
because back then I was living in the Bronx.
You was living in the Bronx, right?
By the Little Italy in the Bronx.
Right. Oh.
So it was so far away.
Yeah.
And I used to run back to the Bronx, take a shower, go to school, stay there until 10 p.m. and then go back to my place, sleep a little bit, and the next day
back to work.
Back to work.
My gosh, the grind.
And
New York grind, man.
Yeah, but it was worth it.
It was worth it, definitely, for sure.
Definitely. If I wouldn't do that, I wouldn't be able to even be here.
Right,
today.
it's true.
Like to even be here. So that's one of the things I really encourage to people, especially immigrants. If you come to this country, you must learn the language.
Definitely learn the language.
You must.
And learn
even
the business.
If it's not perfect like mine.
Yeah. That's great, though.
but you must learn the language.
Right.
There is no other way to succeed in this country but speaking the language.